What if the universe isn't as straightforward as it seems? What if the very fabric of reality, the flow of time and the nature of existence itself are riddled with contradictions that make our heads spin? We like to think we have a pretty good handle on things, cause and effect, life and death, here and there. But honestly, when you start to poke at the edges of our understanding, things get weird, really weird. The cosmos, in its infinite wisdom and complexity, presents us with puzzles that defy our everyday logic. Let's start with a classic, one that has fueled countless science fiction stories and sleepless nights: the grandfather paradox. Imagine you build a time machine. Fantastic. Your first thought might be to go back and see the dinosaurs, but let's say you have a more personal mission. You decide to travel back to a time before your parents were born. You find your grandfather as a young man. And for some reason, maybe you trip, maybe it's a bizarre, misguided plan, you prevent him from ever meeting your grandmother. No meeting, no marriage, no parent of yours is ever born. If your parent is never born, then you are never born. But if you were never born, how could you have gone back to interfere in the first place? This creates a causal loop, a contradiction that makes the past feel immutable. The moment you succeed, you erase the possibility of having embarked on the mission. Maybe the cosmos self-corrects, a chronological protection agency that ensures failure. You'd trip on a pebble, your weapon would jam, a bird would distract you at the critical moment. The universe might not take kindly to meddling with our own origins. Now let's shrink down from the scale of human timelines to the bizarre world of the quantum. Here we find one of the most famous thought experiments ever conceived: Schrodinger's cat. Picture this. You have a cat, a sealed box, a vial of poison, a radioactive atom, and a Geiger counter. The setup is designed so that if the single radioactive atom decays, a completely random quantum event, the Geiger counter will detect it, which triggers a hammer that smashes the vial, releasing the poison, and regrettably, kills the cat. According to the strange rules of quantum mechanics, until we open the box and make an observation, that radioactive atom is in a state of superposition. It hasn't decided whether to decay or not. It exists as both decayed and not decayed simultaneously. And because the cat's fate is directly linked to the atom, the cat itself is also in a superposition. It is for all intents and purposes both alive and dead at the same time. It's not that we don't know if it's alive or dead, it's that the cat exists in both states at once. Of course, this is absurd in our macroscopic world. We never see a cat that is simultaneously a happy purring feline and a tragic inert ex-feline. The paradox arises from applying the rules of the quantum realm to a large-scale object. The moment we open the box and observe the system, the wave function collapses, and reality is forced to choose. Let's return to the realm of time, but this time, we'll look at it through the lens of Einstein's special relativity. This brings us to the twin paradox. Imagine two identical twins, Stella. Stella hops aboard a spaceship. The ship blasts off toward a distant star at about 99.5% the speed of light. Tara stays on Earth, living her life, paying her taxes, waiting for her sister to return. According to Einstein, time is not absolute, it's relative. One consequence is time dilation. For something moving that fast, time slows down. From Tara's perspective, Stella's ship clock ticks much more slowly. Years pass on Earth. Tara grows older, she celebrates birthdays. She may even watch her children grow up. For Stella, time passed much more slowly on the ship. Stella turns the ship around and returns. For Stella, the trip felt like 5 years. She steps out, aged 5 years. On Earth, 50 years have passed. Tara is an old woman. The paradox: couldn't Stella say Earth moved away from her? The resolution: Stella had to accelerate, turn around, and decelerate, breaking the symmetry of their situations. This one is a real mind-bender that twists causality into a pretzel. It's called the bootstrap paradox, or a causal loop. So imagine a time traveler who is a huge fan of Beethoven. He loves the Fifth Symphony, but to his horror, he travels to the future and discovers that all records of Beethoven's music have been lost in some catastrophe. Determined to save the masterpiece, he grabs a copy of the sheet music from his own time, travels back to the 18th century and finds Beethoven. He hands Beethoven the dusty score. Beethoven, confused but impressed, copies the music with a quill and publishes it. The music becomes famous, echoing through the centuries until it reaches our time traveler. The traveler then takes it back to Beethoven, creating a closed loop. So, here's the question that will make your brain ache. Who actually wrote the Fifth Symphony? It wasn't Beethoven, he just copied it. And it wasn't the time traveler, he just brought it from the future. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains hundreds of billions of stars. And there are hundreds of billions of galaxies in the observable universe. With such staggering numbers, it seems statistically inevitable that many of these stars would have Earth-like planets, and that on some of those planets, intelligent life would have evolved. Some of these civilizations would be millions of years older than our own, or even billions of years older. Given that immense head start, you'd think at least one of them would have developed interstellar travel, or at the very least, sent out signals that we could detect. Their presence should be obvious. We should see evidence of their megastructures, we should hear their radio chatter, or find their probes in our own backyard. Yet, when we scan the cosmos, we are met with a profound, deafening silence. This is the heart of the Fermi paradox, famously posed by Enrico Fermi over lunch. Where is everybody? The paradox lies in the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life and the complete lack of evidence for it. There are many possible solutions, none of them entirely comforting. Perhaps we are truly alone, the first and only intelligent species in this vast cosmic ocean. Maybe advanced civilizations inevitably destroy themselves before they can colonize the galaxy. Or perhaps they're out there, but they're deliberately hiding from us. A zoo hypothesis where we're an exhibit to be observed but not contacted. Or maybe the universe is just far bigger and travel is far harder than we can even imagine. Let's get philosophical for a moment with a paradox from ancient Greece, courtesy of the philosopher Zeno of Elea. This is the paradox of the arrow. It's deceptively simple. Imagine an arrow in flight, soaring towards its target. Now consider any single frozen instant in time during its journey. At that specific infinitesimally small moment, the arrow is not moving. It is occupying a space exactly equal to its own length. It is, for that instant, at rest. If the arrow is at rest at every single instant of its flight, how does it ever move from one point to another? If time is just a series of these still moments like frames in a film, then motion itself seems to be an illusion. Here's another one that you can ponder just by looking up at the night sky. It's called Olber's paradox. Why is the sky dark at night? At first, that sounds like a silly question. The sun is on the other side of the earth, duh. But think about it on a cosmic scale. If we assume the universe is infinite in size, has existed forever, and is filled with a roughly uniform distribution of stars, then no matter which direction you look, your line of sight should eventually end on the surface of a star. Imagine being in a forest that stretches on forever. No matter where you look, you'll see a tree. In the same way, every single point in the night sky should be as bright as the surface of a star. The entire celestial sphere should be a blinding continuous blaze of light. There should be no darkness, no twinkling points against a black backdrop. The resolution to this paradox is one of science's most profound discoveries. The universe is not static. It has not existed forever. The Big Bang Theory says the universe began about 13.8 billion years ago, so we can only see light whose photons have had time to reach us. Let's take a break from the cosmos and delve into a paradox of logic and language, one that has vexed philosophers for millennia. It's known as the liar paradox, and it can be stated very simply. Consider the following sentence. This sentence is false. Now let's try to determine if that statement is true or false. It has to be one or the other, right? Assume it's true. If it's true, then this sentence is false, must be false, but we started by assuming it's true. Contradiction. Try the other option. Assume it's false. If it's false, then this sentence is false, must be true, but we assumed it's false. Contradiction again. The sentence seems to be both true and false, and neither true nor false simultaneously. This self-referential loop is a logical black hole. This isn't just a party trick. It has real implications for mathematics, computer science, our understanding of what can and cannot be known. It reveals limits of formal systems when they try to talk about themselves. Let's plunge into one of the deepest mysteries in modern physics, the black hole information paradox. According to everything we know about quantum mechanics, information can never be destroyed. It can be scrambled, hidden, rearranged, like burning a book, smoke ash heat. But the total amount of information in the universe must be conserved. It's a fundamental law. Every day you make choices. You chose to watch this video. You'll choose what to have for dinner. It certainly feels like you are the captain of your own ship, freely making decisions based on your own desires and reasoning. This subjective experience of free will is one of the most fundamental aspects of being human. But now let's look at the universe through the eyes of physics. From the Big Bang onward, the universe has been governed by physical laws. Every event is a consequence of prior causes. The state of the universe one moment determines the state of the universe the next. This is determinism. Your brain is a physical object made of atoms, and its operations are electrochemical processes, your thoughts, your desires, your decisions, that must, ultimately, obey these same physical laws. If we could know the position and momentum of every particle in the universe, we could, in principle, predict the future with perfect accuracy, including every choice you will ever make. The paradox of the heap shows that some questions may not have precise answers because our terms are inherently imprecise. The twin earth paradox reveals that meanings aren't just in our heads, but depend on our external environment. Here lies the paradox. How can our powerful feeling of free will be reconciled with a universe that appears to be deterministic? And there you have it, 12 journeys to the edge of reason and back. These paradoxes show us that the universe is far from a solved puzzle. They are the cosmic glitches in our understanding, the beautiful seams where one theory rubs up against another. They remind us that for every answer we find, the universe presents us with a dozen more fascinating questions. These aren't signs that science is wrong, they are the signposts that show us where to look next, the breadcrumbs leading us toward a deeper, more complete picture of reality. The quest for knowledge is fueled by curiosity, and there's nothing more curiosity-inducing than a good paradox. They challenge us to think bigger, to question our most basic assumptions, and to embrace the profound weirdness of existence. These riddles are an invitation to participate in the grandest detective story of all, the story of our universe. The journey is far from over, and the next great breakthrough might be just one baffling question away. So, keep looking up, keep asking why, and never lose that sense of wonder. The cosmos is waiting, full of mysteries yet to be unraveled. Until next time, stay curious.